I think that this guy is going to be one of the most important Georgia Bulldogs this coming season, not just for the offense, but for the entire team. I'm talking about Nate Frasier, the true freshman running back from this past season that led Georgia in rushing, that led Georgia in touches from a running back perspective. He was electric at times, but Georgia's run game was bad, right? Bad for Georgia, historically bad for Georgia. I've told you a few times, I went back and looked at the stats, and it has been since 2006 that Georgia has rushed as poorly as it did during the 2024 season. I think that obviously combined with some other factors led to Georgia's struggles in 2024, right? And when we talk about struggles, we talk about a team that went 11-3 and won the SEC championship and made the college bowl playoff. But that's not Georgia's standard, and it's certainly not Georgia's standard to rush for under 1,800 yards. Nate Frasier is going to be the biggest player in making sure that that doesn't happen again in 2025. Therefore, I think that he is one of the most important Georgia Bulldogs on this football team. It's tough for me to say that running back is the most important position for Georgia or just football in general as football has changed, but hey, look, Saquon Barkley just got the richest contract in a running back in NFL history this week. He was a big part of the Eagles heading to the Super Bowl along with some other factors. Can Nate Frasier be that? Can he be the first 1,000-yard rusher since 2019? DeAndre Swift, when Swift toted it for 1,200 yards. They had two 1,000-yard rushers in 2018 between DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield. Georgia didn't have that this past season. The Dogs were sorely missing a running game, and Nate Frasier is a guy who I've talked to down at the Sugar Bowl. I've got quotes for you. He loves being a Georgia Bulldog, and what better attribute can you get out of a player that is going to be very important to your team than a guy that just really, really wants to be there and wants it and loves it? I'm going to read the quote for you in just a second. Ryan Curry from Dawg Post newsletter. I'm linking it down below. Make sure you're checking out dogpost.com. I'm writing more again. Matt's cranking out recruiting stories. Dean and I are doing a better job of getting more content out there for you. So make sure you are checking us out over there. This is one of the quotes that I got from Nate Frasier in our conversation. I told him, hey, look, man, when you watch players play and when you watch a team, and I'm tasked with watching the Georgia Bulldogs over and over in addition to the rest of college football, but of course I'm paying closer attention to the Dogs. You can tell when someone really loves it. You can tell when someone really, really wants to be there. That is what I see when I see Nate Frasier play football with the red and black on. I told him that. I said, hey, look, dude, I think you love it. Tell me about that. This is what he said. Air quotes for this. I just love this place, man. I just love this school. I just love this place. I love everything about it. I love the tradition. I love the culture. I love how hard our fans root for us, how diehard our fans are. It's just a great place to be. It's a great place to play football, man. Really, words can't describe it. The feeling of just being here. The running back tradition. All of the great running backs and great players that came here just bleed red and black. So I just feel like that is in my heart as well. So if you didn't already love Nate, Georgia fans who are here, and maybe you're not a Georgia fan and you just respect the passion, but Georgia fans that are here, if you didn't love him before that, this is a guy that wants to be in the red and black. We talked about that a little bit more. Think about his first touchdown against Clemson. Trevor Etienne is expected to be Georgia's RB1. He comes from the transfer portal from Florida. He gets in trouble in the offseason, right? A DUI-related arrest, and Georgia's policy is, hey, we got to sit you out for one game. So that's the season opener against Clemson. Well, Georgia's down to Branson Robinson, who's coming off an injury, right? He didn't play at all from the ruptured patellar tendon that he suffered in August of 2023. So this is his first game back. He looks not ready, right? To keep it polite, he just didn't look ready. They got Cash Jones. They got Nate Frasier. So Georgia didn't really have experience at running back in the way that they want against a Clemson defense that was pretty good this year, right? And had a lot of guys that are going to be in the NFL at some point, if not this coming draft. Frasier goes in. He had about 100 total yards. He had an electric catch. He had an electric 40-yard run. And he scores a touchdown. He scores one of the first touchdowns for Georgia at the beginning of the season. And he bows in his celebration. And that was to pay homage to running back greats at Georgia in the past. Sony Michel used to do that celebration. DeAndre Swift, Todd Gurley. He said Garrison Hurst. So I talked to Nate about that, and he told me that was the plan. This is what he said. Yes, sir, that was the plan. I did that in the All-American game in January of 2020. So he did that. He did that in, I believe it was the Adidas All-American game. He goes on to say, I've been planning on doing that because honestly, when I committed, I was just watching running back highlights. Garrison Hurst, Swift, Gurley, Michelle, Nick Chubb. As I'm peeping them scoring their touchdowns, I'm like, okay, that's RBU. Let me add that to my celebration. So Nate Frasier paid attention to the tradition, and he really wanted to do that for his first touchdown. That was the moment that I knew, hey, this guy loves it. This guy loves being a part of this. Well, Nate, I think there's going to be a lot on your shoulders. If you remember a video recently from Matt DeBerry, if you watched it, he talked about Nate Frasier, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. And the quote that he said was this: if I was Kirby Smart, I would wrap Nate Frasier up in bubble wrap for the next 6-7 months. Why did Matt say something so drastic like that? Why does Matt think that? Well, Georgia didn't add to this running back room. All right, they're bringing in a true freshman, Bo Walker. He's a 3-star. I haven't watched him play. I don't know. Obviously, 3 stars, can succeed at Georgia. We've seen Lab McConkey succeed. We've seen Jordan Davis succeed. We've seen Eric Stokes succeed. 3 stars can succeed at Georgia. But I don't know. I don't have a high expectation for a 3-star running back coming in. I'll wait to see what he looks like this spring to give you my initial opinion on Bo Walker. But Trevor Etienne leaving, to me, was bad for Georgia. Why? You're taking away a future NFL running back out of that running back room. And we've seen the last couple of years how the running game can be hurt by injuries. All right? It was Kendall Milton and Dejan Edwards. Georgia's running back room in 2023 struggled at the beginning of this season because Edwards and Milton were hurt and they couldn't stay on the field for the full game. And they were missing games early on. And Dylan Bell was out there running the ball. So they didn't have a lot of depth in 2023. Those guys stayed healthy and they ended up being really good at the end of the season. But at the beginning of the season, it was shaky. They got lucky in 2023 that there wasn't a major injury to that running back room outside of Branson Robinson during fall camp. So then you bring it back to 2024, where Georgia had its worst running season in a long time. 4.1 yards per carry and 1,700 yards and change. It's just not good enough. Georgia always gets over 2,000. That's a really good number for them. And they've gotten 3,000 in recent years. That didn't happen. And the offensive line's a part of that. The lack of an elite passing game is a part of that. And Georgia's running backs not staying healthy and staying on the field is a part of that. They're relying on Nate Frasier, who ran for 671 yards. Etienne, who ran for 609 yards. Well, Etienne leaving doesn't help Georgia's depth. And all they added was Bo Walker. So what you're getting this year is Nate Frasier. You're getting Cash Jones back. And you're getting Roderick and Branson Robinson. I like to call them the Robinsons. You're getting that, but you really don't know what you're getting out of them. Because you got Branson Robinson as RB3, RB4 in his true freshman season in 2022, running for around 200, 300 yards in garbage time and looking good doing it, a guy that looked really good in high school, but now has suffered a major injury. He'll be 2 years removed from that injury now, and so you'd think that there'd be a bump. And you get Roderick Robinson, a guy who was projected to be Georgia's RB2 behind Trevor Etienne this past season, had 4 carries this season due to a turf toe injury that really kept him out for almost the entire season. He had 4 carries. So Georgia's running back injuries and depth has been a problem. Now, you can look on the flip side of this and say, hey, Dwight Phillips Jr., Chauncey Bowens, they'll be sophomores too. It'll just be their turn to step up. Cash Jones, Roderick Robinson, Branson Robinson. There is a lot of names. There are a lot of names. But there's not a lot of experience with that group. Frasier, from the outside, it looks like he's the most talented. It looks like he's the guy now that has the most experience in terms of touches. And it's not close because Cash Jones, he had 14 carries this past season. He's more of a receiving back, and he will be woven into the mix. I think that Cash Jones has earned that. But Nate Frasier, to me, is one of the most important players for Georgia's offense. Why? This is a guy you can bet on for the Heisman Trophy. This is a guy who they need to have him explode. They need offensive players to explode for the Bulldogs because not having offensive explosion, it hurt. There were 3 games this year where Georgia scored 1 offensive touchdown, and that's not good enough to win national championships. We saw that. It wasn't good enough to beat Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl, to beat Ole Miss on the road. It was barely good enough to beat Kentucky on the road. Those instances can't happen, and Georgia's running game improving is going to be an important part of that factor. Nate Frasier, to me, one of the most important dogs in 2024. Thanks for watching.